Welcome back, you guys. Today we are going to do anchor areas. So as I logged in, I went to my dashboard, went under my management tab, scroll down to your anchor areas. It is important that you label these with something that is going to be able to remind you of which territory it is. The way that I chose to do mine is based on abbreviated cities. So let me bring up my plan real quick. And you'll see that I have all of my territory done. However, when I click on them, this is what I meant by abbreviation. So LC5, Little Canada 5. This one, SV1, Shoreview 1. And the entire Little Canada, or city of Little Canada, is labeled numerically from 1 to, I believe, 36. So when you watch the live feed, and as you get into your live feed and you start moving your territories and moving your anchors from one route to another, that's where the labeling is going to come in very handy. So that way you don't have to take into account what name is which. Once you get your drop down menu that I showed in my previous video, you'll be able to see which ones need to go where. So the time that you spend on this is important. This is actually one of the longest setups that I had, just kind of tracing all of these territories out. So since this is already done, I am going to go ahead and see if I can just do this territory. So obviously the city is Maplewood, and I do have Maplewoods. Let's go to an area I don't have, just so that way I can go through and easily delete them. So here's one, Oak Park Heights. We'll use just this little segment to kind of show how to do it. One thing with this is you need to be able to right and left click. It's going to help out, especially when you start zooming in and you start cutting in your territory. It's a lot smoother to do it with a right and left click mouse. Everything that I have is Apple, so even my MacBook, I use a secondary mouse. I use just a little cheap Microsoft one. It works well and it makes it a lot easier. Even for my iMac, I use a cheap little Microsoft mouse instead of the smart mouse that came with it, and it does help out tremendously when doing these. So now that we found the territory that we want to carve out, the first step that we're going to do is keep an eye on your cursor, how you are showing a standard cursor. Once you hit add, the cursor will turn into a cross. At that point, you do it just how you would see it when you're sitting down with a VSA. And you would watch people kind of cut in your marks. So right now, I'm just tracing down Stillwater Boulevard and just making this one segment its own anchor. So by the end of this, I will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 done. You'll notice anchor name and label. So we are in Oak Park Heights, so I will do Oak Park 1, OP1 label. You don't have to worry about it. Hit save. Now the anchor is created. So as I do that, I kind of just follow the territory and just follow Stillwater. And just an FYI, this is not my area, so if you're watching this and it is, I apologize, but I'm just doing this for an example, so I don't know if this would even work. So then I'll do OP2. And they can go as small as you would like. And don't worry about them falling off. They will once you add them. And if you still want to be able to see it, just go ahead and refresh the page. So let me finish this one. And so say I forget which number I'm on. I can go in OP2. It won't let me save it because that tag is already made. So now I do OP3 and it saves. I'm going to go up here, hit refresh. Still don't see them, so I'm going to scroll down. Actually, you know what? I'm going to make it easier. I'm just going to search and just do OP1. That's why we don't see it. It's not turned on. OP2. OP3. And now my areas are on. So I'm going to go ahead, hit add again. But notice how I zoomed in? This is where the right and left will be able to come in a lot handier. So I noticed that there's a lot of different streets in here. So if I put my plot onto something that I know it's going to be easier to find, just because I'm in an active kind of cut right now, that doesn't mean that I can't zoom in. So this is where you would hold the left mouse button and use the scroll on the center of the mouse to zoom in and out. And if you wanted to, you could even use the right mouse to reorient the map. So you could actually look at it instead of always north-south. You can change it and kind of directionally move it how you want to. Someone's gonna go ahead and label this OP4. And for names, they don't have to be specific to numerics. You can do names too. So this is actually, I believe this is Stillwater Prison. So if I want to go and just trace out the prison, I could label it Stillwater Prison. So now Stillwater Prison's right there. So that is it when it comes down to anchor areas. It's not that hard to do, but if you want to have the most success and the most control over your transfers, you're going to want to make sure that they are as small as possible. Because, for example, my Monday through Friday plan, this was, like I said, this plan was the one that I used for training, so it's not as accurate as my other ones. So this section is an area that I missed. It will plot where it wants to go. Like I mentioned in the live feed, if it does not have a designated anchor for those addresses, it will plot to the closest anchor that it shows to. So even down here, for example. Luckily, this is Shoreview, so it always goes right to our Shoreview route. However, this section, this little business district right here, this typically splits hands on different days of the week. I have different routes going there in different days, so if I do not have this anchor assigned, it will decide where it wants to go. So if you look at my Sunday plan, I actually split it. So this one is an actual active plan. I did split it accordingly, and I can assign it accordingly. Just based on the areas. So I named it Target area because that's actually a Target with a business district. This is a Walmart area, same thing. There's a couple of restaurants that share the parking lot. Target has a couple of storefronts that has a whole kind of little mall attached to it. So I went through and made it its own territory, so that way it knows it won't just pull Target, it will actually pull everything around it now and assign it properly to the route that I want it to go to. So that's the quick down and dirty on anchor areas, and I can't stress enough, take the time to get this exactly how you want it. All those days and all those hours that you spent looking at the VSA maps, coming up with all of your plans with the terminal staff to get the VRP set or the VSA set, to get all of your vision assignments, your 1,000, 1,500, all of the movements that you wish you could have made. If you take the time to make this as detail oriented as possible for your territory, you will have the most success in the easiest transition as far as moving small territories to and from routes and really having control of the volume and the final stop count of your drivers.